in our thoughts and prayers the father of Commissioner Escona Barber, who passed away last week, and also for Nick Orsino and David Harris, a community advocate. Thank you. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
According to provisions of the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of the public meeting has been published and home distributed by electric newspapers and posted on the Middlesex County website, as well as on the front door and bulletin board of the Middlesex County Administration Building at least 48 hours in advance of this meeting, which shall be entered into the minutes of this meeting.
Roll call.
County Commissioner Escobar Barber, County Commissioner
Here.
County Commissioner Koppel. Here. County Commissioner McCollum.
Here.
County Commissioner Nara. County Commissioner Panera.
Here.
County Commissioner Director Rios.
Here. We're going to have the introduction of the budget by our financial CFO. But before that, I would like to make a comment. For over a decade, Middlesex County has been devoted to financial responsibility, putting our efforts into realizing savings within our budgets that directly impact our residents, always with a focus on making the county the best place to live, work, and play. My colleague Leslie Koppel will soon share information about the proposed 2022 budget, which further solidifies this dedication. I want to thank Commissioner Koppel and the Board of County Commissioners, the County Administration, County's Finance Department, and all county staff. I'm tremendously proud to be part of such a strong, resident-focused leadership team. This budget is a direct result of all their hard work. And now I'd like to turn it over to our Finance Department Chair, Commissioner Koppel, for her statement.
Thank you, Director. Over the last decade, Middlesex County has been devoted to providing quality services to our municipalities and our residents, all by remaining fiscally responsible and focused on the future. This year's budget, the result of hard work and dedication of our Commissioner Board and county staff, reflects that devotion. It allows us the financial freedom to provide resources and programs directly to our community, including crucial game-changing health and wellness programs to our residents. Over the last year, we have doubled down on our commitment to caring about the overall health and wellness of our residents. We have launched key programs like the Telehealth Initiative, focused on bringing telemedicine services to underinsured members in our community, and the Community Health Team, a boots-on-the-ground field program bringing information to our residents, meeting them where they are. And wellness extends beyond an individual's physical and mental health. It involves a sense of community, and the commitment to the arts reflected in this budget allows us to continue our promise to make Middlesex County the best place to live, work, and play. Savings realized in our budgets have allowed the county to support projects like the Performing Arts Centers located in New Brunswick, Carteret, Metuchen, and Woodbridge, as well as improvements to our county parks and recreation facilities and continual investment in our golf courses. As Chair of the Finance Committee, I'm pleased to put before you the 2022 Middlesex County budget for introduction. Focusing on the county's fiscal health, this budget continues to reduce the county's debt service, reflecting a decrease in mandated debt service of over $10 million. Because of this continued trend, the county is able to maintain its coveted AAA bond rating, which enables us to spend less taxpayer money when improving our overall infrastructure, completing projects such as roads and bridges and signals. The county's employee wellness program, one example of the county's continued investment in the well-being of its employees, has led to a decrease in healthcare costs reflected in the 2022 budget. Over 2,800 employees take advantage of the program, which cultivates a healthier workforce by focusing on general nutrition, exercise, and weight management, smoking cessation, and blood pressure regulation. I thank my fellow commissioners, County Administrator John Colomino, the County Finance Department under the direction of Joe Britti, and all of our employees for their hard work in establishing this proposed operating budget.
Thank you, Commissioner. The budget process started last September with an overwhelming task, and I too like to thank some people. Obviously, Director Rios and Commissioner Couple for their leadership, the rest of the Commissioner Board, Mr. Palomino, County Administrator, as well as the department heads, office directors, and my staff. And I had some of them here tonight. Leading the charge was Isam Abbas, our Budget Director, Gabe Cookie, our Controller, Nick Duglinski, our recently appointed Treasurer, and also one of my top accountants, Jasmine Green. And here is the 2022 operating budget. The 2022 budget is $583.7 million, an increase of $38.3 million. The salaries are up by $3.4 million, which represents 2.3% increase. That is in line with our negotiated wage increase. Other expenses are up by about $10 million. Half of that is mandatory, non-discretionary expenses. Our grants are the biggest portion of the increase, about $25 million, which are offset by grants and revenues. Under the revenue, we're back to not using any surplus in our budget, as we did in the past. Our operating revenues are down slightly. Special item revenue up $12 million. And once again, grants are up by $25 million, offset by expenses. Overall, the taxation is $446.5 million, an increase of $13.1 million. Now, even though there's an increase to the taxation, the overall tax rate for the county is going to be flat this year because of the continued growth and increased valuation of properties. The key drivers in revenue are these. We received $10 million from the recently acted Rescue Act from the federal government for loss of revenue for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. We're in the first full year of a pilot program for hospital fees, where the administrative cost to the county will yield $6.1 million. The sheriff's office revenue was down because of decreased sheriff sales because of the pandemic. Once again, grants were up by about $25 million. These are the two biggest components. There's the Emergency Rental Assistance Program from the federal government to cover COVID expenses for rental properties, and then annual transportation program. This program is usually amended during the year, but this year it came in early, so we made it part of our budget. The key driver for expenses, once again, is the grants, the rental program. Now, this is the second ERA program. We already received $26 million, of which we distributed over $10 million already. Once again, the annual transportation program, mandated increases such as pension and FICA are about $5 million. On the decrease side, we have the biggest decrease in county's history in debt service, or about $10.7 million. And also because the state has been closing a lot of the state institutions, they decrease our cost share for running those institutions. Our surplus increased once again to $89 million. In 2011 was the last time we used surplus to close budget gap as revenue. That year, we were placed on a negative watch by our rating agencies, a AAA rating. And one of the reasons was that they felt that our surplus needed to be higher. So we instituted a policy where we would not use surplus as revenue to close budget gaps. And we did so for 8 straight years. We were able to increase our budget from 2011 by $77 million, or about 900%. Now, the surplus fund is a rainy day fund. And in 2020 and 2021, we used it as such. That's when the pandemic hit, and we relied on a surplus to cover COVID-related expenses. The good news is that we were able to replenish what we used and increase the surplus year over year. Later tonight, the board will be introducing a capital ordinance of $67 million for 2022 budget. For such projects as transportation, road reconstruction, new signs, bridges, building and grounds, recreational facilities, educational facilities, technology, public safety, business development, and human services. Over the last 10 years, we invested over $500 million in capital improvements. Much of this $500 million investment was derived from cost savings and efficiencies, and not borrowing and selling bonds. As a result, overall debt decreased from $700 million to slightly over $400 million, or 40% over that time frame. As our annual debt decreased, so did our principal and interest, or our annual debt service. As I stated before, we had the biggest decrease in debt service in the county's history, $10.7 million. We have reduced our debt 7 years in a row for a total of $34.5 million reduction. Just to put some time frame associated with this reduction, in 2014, we adopted our debt policy. We were the first county in New Jersey to do so. And in 2016, we began to build our pay-as-you-go capital fund in our operating budget. As a result, we managed to decrease our debt service for about 25%, 22%, roughly $1 out of $4 in our budget used to go for debt service. This year we're down to 7%. And we're able to free up funding for other services. And that is the county's budget introduction. Are there any questions?
Any questions from commissioners? Thank you, Joe. I have to say, great job by Joe Peretti and John Colomino, our administrator, and all our finance department, and again, from our department heads and employees for really understanding how important it is to come with a solid budget. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up discussion on resolutions 22-234, 235, 236, 237, 238, and 239. If anyone from the public has any comments on those resolutions listed only. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Charlie Craneville, editor of New Brunswick Today, and resident in Brunswick. I want to thank Mr. Brady for the presentation. It's encouraging and informative. I do want to raise a concern, and I often raise this concern about the inmate processing fee. I'm sorry?
What's your comment?
I want to raise a concern about the inmate processing fee in the budget.
Charlie, this public portion is only for certain resolutions that deal with the tax levy cap.
Sure. So you're saying that you won't take comments on the budget until
No.
next year? I'll be back.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Any commission needs to vote separately? Commissioner McCall?
Yes, that's on item number 22-236.
36.
22-270 and 22-283.
Okay, Mr. Kelso?
Yes, a motion would then be in order to adopt these resolutions, which are resolution 22-234 through resolution 22-239, excluding resolution 22-236 to be voted upon.
there a motion?
So moved.
Roll call?
County Commissioner Kenny?
Yes.
County Commissioner Coppell?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara? County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes.
Director, now be appropriate to consider the resolution excluded by Commissioner McCollum, and that's resolution 22-236. Move to adopt.
Second.
Roll call?
County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Coppell?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Present but abstaining.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. Okay, at this time, the clerk will read the summary of the proposed budget.
Total general appropriations, $583,683,798. For 2021 is $691,124,114. Less anticipated revenues for 2022 is $137,173,478. For 2021 is $257,747,114. Amount to be raised by taxation for county purpose tax for 2022, $446,510,320. For 2021, $433,377,000.
Is there a motion to introduce the 2022 budget? Roll call?
County Commissioner
Yes.
Kenny? County Commissioner Coppell? County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. The clerk will read the county budget notice.
Annual budget of the County of Middlesex for fiscal year 2022. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the county budget for the year 2022. Be it further resolved that a summary of said budget be published in the Home News Tribune in the issue of March 4th, 2022. The Board of County Commissioners of the County of Middlesex does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2022. Notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was approved by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Middlesex on February 17th, 2022. A hearing on the board and tax resolution will be held at the County Administration Building, 75 Bayer Street, New Brunswick, New Jersey, on March 17th, 2022, at 7 o'clock p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2022 may be presented by the taxpayers or others.
Thank you. Correspondence?
Each commissioner has been provided with a list of correspondence received by the clerk's office since our last meeting. This correspondence is kept on file in the office of the clerk of the board for reference.
Is there a motion to accept the correspondence?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes for approval.
Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, February 3rd, 2022, at 7 o'clock p.m.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call?
County
Yes.
Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Coppell?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. We have the ordinances, introduction and first reading. The clerk will read ordinance number 461.
Bond Ordinance 461, ordinance appropriating $67 million from the 2022 operating budget to provide for various capital improvements in and by the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 461 on first reading?
Second.
Roll call?
County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Coppell? County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara? County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. And for public hearing and final adoption?
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Home News Tribune on February 4th, 2022. This public hearing was authorized at a meeting of the Board of County Commissioners held on February 3rd, 2022.
The clerk will read ordinance number 22-001.
Guarantee ordinance 22-001, guarantee ordinance securing the Middlesex County Improvement Authority's county guaranteed parking revenue bond series 2021 Carteret Parking Project in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6 million and authorizing a public hearing to be held Thursday, February 17th, 2022 at 7 o'clock p.m. and authorizing publication thereof.
At this point, I declare the public hearing open. Anyone who wants to make any comments on ordinance number 22-001?
Good evening once again, Commissioners. Charlie Cranville. We discussed this before. I have some apprehensions about the county getting into the parking business. Can you tell me what would happen if you don't borrow $6 million to purchase this parking deck that's already built and in operation? What would happen? Presumably it would continue under current ownership, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
Oh, okay, and what would be so bad about that? If the borough operates the parking deck or the Performing Arts Center?
As you know, the commissioning director had indicated as part of the overall strategy under the umbrella of the Improvement Authority that a regionalized parking solution would be able to be more cost-effective and efficient to run than individual towns are in. As you know, we are going to be operating the facility at the Brunswick train station. And this is just another addition, knowing what's going to be going on in Carteret relative to the ferry that's going to be coming into play, along with the event center that's down here. So the overall philosophy of this board is that a regional parking authority is more efficient in operating, as well as providing a service to support the economic growth of Middlesex County.
Well, I can give some input, being a New Brunswick resident. We're the capital of parking decks here. Our parking authority is the biggest in the state. It's racked up hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. And the pandemic really was a wake-up call because many of those decks were sitting empty and the authority was unable to make its pilot payment to the city. And I just don't want to see the same thing happen to the county. We're seeing increasingly pushes for people to not use cars. And, I don't know the location of the ferry, but you're telling me you expect people to park in this deck and then take the ferry to New York? Is that realistic?
Yes.
Okay, well, I hope I live to see the North Brunswick train station one day. I know that project has been in the works as long as I've been here. And I think that this project could exist on its own and continue as it is without the county pouring $6 million in. And I'm concerned about the MCIA. You mentioned that they're going to be in charge of this. They're essentially going to be the parking authority for the whole county and getting deep into this business. They're supposed to build us a school in New Brunswick, and I was just on their meeting this week and asked them some questions about it. They couldn't give me any answers about the benchmarks, the timelines that have been missed for that project, how much of the money's been spent, how much is left, and what happens if you run out of money, who's on the hook for it. So basic questions about a development project, the MCIA board really not able to answer. So I don't think giving them more projects to take on, especially one that's already operational, it's already been built, it's already open, already is functioning. I don't see why our county government should be, pouring money into that kind of a thing. What are the predictions for how you're going to pay for this? It's all going to come from the fees that are paid by the parkers?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay, and, I just caution you, we've done this in New Brunswick and it's not worked out so well. So I don't, respectfully would encourage you to table this ordinance and hold off on it because, as far as transportation is concerned, we face an uncertain future, and the Improvement Authority is struggling to keep up with the existing projects they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Again, as we introduced the 2022 budget, Charlie, and you look at our ability to reduce debt, build a pay-as-you-go capital plan, this would not require any financing on part of the county. With a triple bond A rating and our financial house in order, the investments we're making, we believe are critical to the economic growth of this county.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Danielle Moore, Somerset
Could you
Street.
talk a little louder, Danielle, please?
Danielle Moore, Somerset Street. I have to say I do agree with Mr. Cradaville, what he's saying basically with the situation due to where, I would just say, said for example, due to where you're putting too much money in certain things and if too much money is going down the drain And like I said, due to where parking is an issue, that's also, I will say, for example, how much money you put in the deck down to the Raritan River, due to where saying that, ooh, that was gonna be boating docks, people were gonna be traveling over here to use the parking deck. What? That was a waste of, what, $4 million, due to where, what, that didn't happen. And what, it actually caused more damage for you due to where have to clean up due to where that debt for $4 million or more. What? So I have to say I agree with the Cradaville. You're going too far and too many things is wasting money. I have to say, if you're really, you're about the county, but if you're not a person that really lives in where a project is going, you're not seeing what's going through every day, every other day, then you're just guessing. And like I said, that's why I have to say, out of the last few projects, you've just been wasting millions of dollars. Sad to say, but like I said, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 22-001?
Second.
Roll call.
County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Hopple?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Kelso, we have any resolutions to be added?
There are none.
Resolutions to be amended?
There are none.
Resolutions to be held?
There are none.
Resolutions to be voided?
There are none.
At this time, I open up the meeting to the public on any comments on any resolutions listed only. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Thanks, Charlie Crowder, once again. I want to ask about 22-200. This is another special assistant county counsel, and it's currently not an individual, but it's a firm. Can you tell me, is there a not to exceed amount on this contract, and how many other special assistant county counsels do we have?
There, first of all, it's a fixed contract amount. It's $30,000 for a 90-day period. The firm was selected because of their expertise with regard to several different types of matters, affirmative action matters, as well as doing a compliance review of all ADA facilities for us. So they were selected for that specific purpose. We have, I have to calculate how many assistants we have, which are contract assistants. I believe it's 5, which we rotate work for those, and I anticipate at least one of those contracts will not be renewed. So sometimes you get into a transition, and this is a little bit of a transition for bringing Colin.
Thank you, Mr. Kelso. 284 is the one right after it. These are the labor agreements. Can somebody just give me a quick summary of what is in these? Folks getting raises?
This is a 4-year contract that talks about NWI, or basically salary increases, fixed salary increases across all of the 4 unions that are listed here. And those are basically it's a 8% package over a 4-year period. But it's not salary increases or promotion, it's simply across the board adjustments in salary and negotiated between the county of Middlesex and these particular unions.
Understood. Can you give me any of the percentages for the next 4 years, or is it, are there a lot of them?
Essentially, it's a 0 in 2021, 3.5, 3 in 2022, 2.5, 2.5, for a total 8% package.
223, the bottom of page 7, see the city of Perth Amboy is going to be, getting some county funds for their Code Blue program. I'm curious if the same is going to be in place for New Brunswick.
We have sent the contract to New Brunswick. They sent the proposal to us. We're just waiting for them to return the paperwork, but it'll be for
90.
90,000.
Yeah, I think Code Blue is really important, and we do need to expand it. I know we had to fight just to get it to be where every night that it's freezing cold, it's open. But of course, sometimes it's freezing cold during the day, and I just think it's, especially considering the pandemic, it's really, problematic. We've seen a huge increase in homelessness, and I happen to live just a few hundred feet away from the one in New Brunswick, and it could be much better. I'm glad the county's participating, and hope to see increases funding for those services. And that's it on the resolutions. I just wanted to correct something I said previously, that MBPA didn't make their pilot payment in 2020. They were able to make it last year, but they had to cut back quite a bit. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public? You state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes on only resolutions that are listed.
Hi, yes, Danielle Moore, Somerset Street. Once again, I'm seeing there's an additional $1.6 million to go towards Livingston Avenue.
What's the resolution?
Excuse me, 260.
260. Bond Senator?
Hi, Danielle. Not exactly. We're increasing the construction administration contract by $275,000 to our consultant. It was a federal aid project which required intense inspection, and due to COVID, there were other issues, the water line break. We had to extend the contract and inspect all that work to federal standards.
Well, okay, as I mentioned to you before, what about the damage to sad to see that the house was torn down, where you guys said we rented your equipment to do Livingston Avenue, such a beautiful house on the corner of Livingston by Wellington Street, where all that's been torn down now. Is this part of something that help it make better, due to where the owner next door is complaining, like, come on, what are you going to do?
If I could respond?
Yes.
That's a private lot, and yes, our contractor did rent the lot as a yard for his equipment, and now the developer is building an apartment building there. So it is a private lot. It is not subject to county influence.
Wow, like I said, city, or I haven't heard anything that this is going to be an apartment building going there. I will investigate on that. But one thing I will say, as of today, I do look out and I warn you for things. Speaking of Livingston Avenue, due to where I happen to be walking today with Livingston Avenue and New Street, I have to say, with one of the new light posts, traffic light posts, I have to say it should be inspected. I was going to call you or whatever, but even with the wind, how it's rocking due to where, wow, we get a heavy storm. Is that traffic light going to move or what? I think it should be investigated of what's going on. Like I said, I'm not talking about the light just swinging. I'm talking about with the ground, how the pole is actually moving. So I hope you do look into it. Like I said, I do give you warnings ahead of time, because like I said, the Lord does let me see things, and you can't say that. I have to just say, see, with the money, I'm very disappointed with Livingston Avenue, far as due to where 4 months, I warned you, those lights are still, they haven't been back on since on Livingston Avenue between Delaware and Comstock Street. When I warned you, what, nothing to be done? What, someone was attacked? Then what, I will warn you, then what, a car accident. One thing you said you did go over there that night. One thing I want to explain to you. Yes, if you go over there a certain time, when lights from each side, you have traffic, it may look bright to you, but when there's no traffic at all, due to where it's much darker and you cannot see. So I hope you do look into that as far as what Livingston Avenue as well.
Danielle, Director, may I respond? Sure. I believe that you're referring to the Redfield School. I reached out to the city. They contacted the superintendent of that school, and he asked he will be turning on the lights at that school, which complement the street light in front of that building.
Well, please tell me why the streetlights don't work. I told you this is going to be an issue between the city and the county, due to where we said that this wasn't going to be a situation due to where they don't have numbers on the poles to report to the Public Works Department, PSNG. Who's going to be responsible? Like I said, 2 incidents already. I warned you for a reason, and wow, 4 months to see they're still out. Come on.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Kelso, do we have any commissioners that have to vote on separately?
Retroactive.
Okay.
Items number 22-270, item 22-283.
Anyone else? Okay.
Director, a motion would then be in order to adopt a consent agenda consisting of resolution numbers 22-198 to resolution 22-284, excluding resolutions 22-234, 235, 236, 237, 238, and 239, which were previously voted upon, and resolutions 22-270, 22-283 to be voted upon separately.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
Roll call.
County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Popples?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes.
Now, Director, it would be appropriate to consider the two resolutions which were excluded by Commissioner McCollum. Those are resolutions 22-270 and 22-283.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Roll call.
County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Popples?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
President Goldstein.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
This time I open up the meeting to the public. Please come forward. State your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Yes, once again, Danielle Marr. First, I will start off with Easton Avenue and Somerset Street. I have to say, wow, I hear that you're putting a new traffic light there due to where, almost similar to the one with Livingston Avenue and New Street, where it'll talk to you much more safer. But I have to say, at the way this project is going, that's a college area. You're putting too many people at risk due to where you have three corners with work on it, where what, you can't even cross which way, you have people walking in the street. The way this project is being done, it is not safe for our pedestrians due to, I witnessed almost last night someone getting hit due to where, like I said, three sidewalks, there's only one sidewalk that's clear there, how you have people having to walk in the street. Please, I hope you can go check it out and investigate and see what you can do better, or maybe finish one corner at a time, but to have three sidewalks closed. And also as well, due to where the business owner, he's very angry, where we're saying due to where, wow, how many more weeks is it that no one can really go into his business, I can't pronounce it, but the Mediterranean grill, due to where he's losing too much money, due to where still not a good idea. So like I said, I hope you really look into this project, what's going on. And then also my next one, please, I'm not sure, Paul Robeson Boulevard, Georges Road or Sanford Street, does any of that have a connection to the county? None of those streets.
Old Robertson Boulevard, and you said Sanford?
Or George's Road.
George's Road is a county road, but the other two are not.
Well, okay, basically at this side is your side with George's Road. I'm asking all the other corners, due to where you have a no turn on red, due to where we need a no turn on red at this corner to show, where like I said, I will even text you the video of what happened due to where how I got the video of someone almost getting hit. So I hope you do look into putting a no turn on red on all four corners, even with two crossing guards. I had the pictures to show, wow, the crossing guards are across the street with other kids, but how these cars, they do not stop, and like I said, someone's gonna get hit. So I will text you if it's possible tomorrow the video of the rest of them to show. And then like I said, once again, I do mark out anyone's license plate. I'm not trying to tell on the person. I'm just proving my point. I do black out anyone's license plate that I do take pictures of. I'm not trying to get them in trouble. And if you can please tell me what happened to the no turn on red sign for Jersey Avenue. Why was it taken down?
Ron?
I will look into it. It should be up, Danielle. If it's not up, we'll get a new sign in place. It was up at one time.
Yes, I know you approved it, and like I said, as of now, due to where, like I said, very busy, like I said, time for a county really to start getting their stuff together. If you plan on putting a school over there, even though I say you're making a big mistake, it's sad to see that the school hasn't really even been dug yet. But wow, looking for the cancer center, how they increased the noise and the noise up until the workers can work till 12 o'clock at night. But wow, what about the school? Nothing, even though honestly, like I said, I warned you, believe me, that is not no area for a school to go regardless. And I hope you still continue to look at how much money the county and the city is going to have to put in to make it safer. While who's going to pay for the hit and run? Due to where that was 2 weeks ago when a tractor trailer knocked down the whole entire traffic light and sign. Did his insurance pay or did the county pay? I say thank you to where you put it back up immediately, but did you see Jersey and Handy Street with the hit and run?
Typically, we do get a police report. Our public works office goes after the insurance.
Did you see it? Please show the rest of them, like I said, with the speeding, that actually take down 2 signs. One, and then then to take down the whole traffic light, and how could that even be? But like I said, due to where I tell you, New Brunswick Police Department, they do not do their job, as I said at City Council last night. Wow.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Please, the police
Anyone else
department
from the
needs to do
public?
something.
No one coming up?
Yeah, good enough.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Please speak loud and close to the microphone.
Is this good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, my name is Sonia. My address is in Highland Park, Middlesex County, New Jersey. Good evening, commissioners. I want to emphasize that I do live in Middlesex County because there's a lot of members of a group who is against closing the Johnson Park Zoo, who recently publicly claimed that none of us, meaning those in favor of closing, are actually from Middlesex County. So, hi, I am, as are the majority of those in our group. So I'm here to talk about Johnson Park Zoo. Obviously, the flooding of Hurricane Ida is kind of what served as a catalyst of sorts for this burst of advocacy. But I really wanted to kind of talk about the public, and public service and the needs of the public and what the public wants, what the constituents want, what people in this county, Middlesex County, want. I say this because you had cited feedback from the public as the main factor in the reversal of the decision to close Johnson Park Zoo. I haven't seen any feedback from that side of the public in months, and I just want to kind of go over a couple things. So we have two petitions in favor of closing Johnson Park Zoo with a total of 10,514 signatures of members of the public. The majority of those people signed their names, and a lot of them were reasons for signing, which all revolve around the welfare of the animals. There is a petition to keep Johnson Park Zoo. It has a grand total of 595 signatures. So about 1/18th or 1/20th of the other one. Dozens of people signed anonymously, so there's no name, location, or email address on there. So there's clearly thousands of us who have been concerned about the welfare of the animals for many, many years. In fact, there's been public concern about the zoo since the 1960s, or that was at least the earliest that I could find on record. In the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and today. In the 70s, there were concerns about the deer. There were articles regarding deer hunts as a solution for overpopulation because there were no neuter or spay practices. There was a deer who tried to escape, who impaled himself on a fence. In the 80s, there were multiple articles with references to slayings at the zoo. I'm not going to really harp on anything individually, but I do want to talk about the following letters that were published in the newspaper on July 9th, 1981, regarding Monty the bear. Dory says, how about Johnson Park at least getting a larger cage for Monty, the cooped up bear, with donations accepted from readers sympathetic to his plight?
So Dory knew that enough readers of this newspaper were sympathetic to Monty's plight that they could likely fund it with donations from citizens. Paul wrote, "I would like to say something about Monty, the bear at Johnson Park. His cage is too small for a bear that size. He should be put in a big cage, something a good size for him. The only way to make him feel the best is to give him a bigger cage." There were multiple entire articles written in the 80s about Monty. Dr. Nikki Berman-Levy was a vet and outspoken advocate for him. And I just kind of want to, really emphasize that it's been, 40, 50 years of the public saying there's a problem, there's an issue, these animals are neglected, they're not cared for, we want change. An article published in 1982 covered Monty not alone in need for space. Other animals, right? Not just the bear. So I just want to close in reading from an editorial titled Life in Two Cages from August 21st, 1982. So 40 years, almost to the month. Monty the bear is bored, aimlessly, relentlessly pacing in his man-made habitat. What he needs is space. Or so say signers of a petition, the Middlesex County freeholders, which is what commissioners used to be called, will receive tonight. And it's not just Monty's situation that the petitions are asking be improved. The whole Johnson Park Zoo, they urge, should be refurbished. Monty's cage and care conditions might meet state standards, of course, but that's not the point.
Time's up.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Katie Thomas, and I came here today from Philadelphia to speak about the situation.
Excuse me, where?
Sorry?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry. My name is Katie Thomas, and I came here today to speak about the Johnson Park Zoo situation.
And your address, please?
Philadelphia.
Okay.
I have been following this situation for a few months now and seeing the condition of the animals at Johnson Park have just broken my heart. It baffles me how people with the power to change these animals' situation for the better continue to not do so, even when there have been places lined up to take these animals in and provide them with peace for the rest of their days. It feels dishonest at best that you've been waiting on a report about what to do while the animals suffer every moment of every day. I believe you already know what you should do. That seems clear by your agreement to release 3 of the critical care animals to one of the sanctuaries ready to provide these animals with homes already, which, despite my words here today, I am grateful for on behalf of those 3 animals. Thank you. What is this, though, if not an admission that this so-called haven is not equipped to provide adequate care to these animals? The 2 pigs in the rim have experienced apparent improvements in their health and moods. There are many more still at the park who still need the same help. You do not need a consultant to verify what we already know. What we know is that this place is in a flood zone. These animals' needs are being neglected. Their enclosures lack adequate enrichment for the residents, several of whom are displaying zoonosis symptoms and other health problems. They are without adequate shelter and apparently without adequate access to water that is not frozen solid in cold weather. Without adequate health care, and all of this in a place where there are animals who have lived there that have died in the past. They died in floods under circumstances that are avoidable in the sanctuaries that want to take them in. We don't even know the extent of this problem due to apparently lost records. The responses from Mr. Lear in previous meetings about why raccoons and foxes are pacing back and forth, displaying repetitive behavior, were not actual, substantive answers to the questions posed at all. He alluded to the animal's origin and avoided a direct response. The honest answer to the questions about those animals' condition is that they lack any true consideration for their mental and social needs. I find it hard to believe that this answer is not as apparent to you all as it is to me. That it is not just the animal's origin and how they came to be at the haven that is responsible for these behaviors, but is the complete lack of regard for their welfare that has resulted in these repetitive coping behaviors we see them displaying. A desperate attempt from them to disengage from the reality of their situation. I do not want to believe that you are all just indifferent to these animals suffering. I want to believe that you do care. Unfortunately, no amount of words claiming that you do can speak louder than your inaction when it comes to helping these animals, especially after you agreed to do so previously and then gone back on your word. I have no other reasonable explanation at hand for why these animals have not been placed in better care, but that you are at best indifferent to their suffering despite your ability to alleviate it. When I say that you can alleviate their suffering, I mean relocating them to sanctuaries I mentioned. Even significant improvements to Johnson Park Animal Haven would not change the fact that it's in a flood zone with no appropriate contingencies in place to help these animals in the event of another flood. It is not necessary for you to wait on this report, and who knows if your report will be worth anything at all, given that, according to vet records given to the sanctuary where the ram and pigs were released, you've had a vet, Dr. Link, working on some of these animals while they were under the care of the Haven. The same Dr. Link that has been convicted by the FBI for doping horses in the past. It does not, for me, inspire confidence in your process knowing this. So why should the public have any confidence in a report that does anything other than confirm that this is not a good situation for these animals to be in, given the history of Johnson Park Animal Haven? And even forgetting all of the other obvious problems, why is it acceptable to you for all these animals to be residing in a flood zone when some of them there have died in floods previously? Do any of you have an answer to
Time's
any
up.
questions?
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Alex Shannon. I'm here from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hello, fellow animal lovers. I'm here again to speak up for the residents of Johnson Park Animal Haven. I'm not from this county, but injustice is injustice regardless of where it's happening, and there are individuals who need spoken up for. So all you have to do is put yourself in their position. If you were the fox facing in distress, or the depressed ram, or any of the other neglected animals waiting to die in a flood at Johnson Park, just ask yourself, what would you want to have happen? It's really hard to even imagine yourself being put in that position because our values wouldn't allow for it. And yet, that's the reality for the victims at Johnson Park, and they absolutely are victims. At this point, I don't know what other word describes them better. They're sick, they're mentally unwell, they're in pain, they're in danger, and they're being ignored. They've been essentially, and in some cases literally, sentenced to death by their caretakers. They've been promised liberation, and then they've had it denied to them by the very same people who are supposed to protect them and who claim to have their best interests in mind, and for what reason? We really have no idea, and we've heard some theories, and none of them sound too favorable to you. I don't know what you're getting out of this, but every day that passes without explanation lends more credence to the notion that what's going on here is just evil. It's greed, it's speciesism, it's injustice. Just because someone looks different and thinks different doesn't mean you can treat them however it best serves you. Something we all learn as children, so what is going on here? Overfeeding someone to the point of blindness is abuse. Neglecting someone you're supposed to protect and allowing them to disappear in a flood is abuse. Holding someone in captivity for your entertainment and denying them their basic necessities is abuse. These animals are living, thinking, feeling beings. They are not objects, they are not property, they are not its. They are abuse victims, and they are victims of injustice. They deserve to be liberated from Johnson Park. You can see the change in animals who were liberated from Johnson Park, who are now living in a place of actual safe haven. You know these beings are emotionally complex and capable of so much more than dying scared and cold to an illness, injury, or in a flood. But that's something you have to deny to get what you want, I guess. You apparently would rather let them die than inconvenience yourself. I know you're intelligent. I know you understand every word, every argument, every plea that has been presented to you. You've had the opportunity and plan in place to do the right thing, and you still have it, but you're just choosing to do the wrong thing. To me, it seems like you just don't care, but a lot of people do. These people here care, I care, and we'll be back again until justice is brought to these victims, because that is what I would want if I were in their position. I would be hoping and praying every day that there was someone out there trying to get me out. That is what you would want. You cannot call yourself an animal lover while you participate in their abuse. That's just hypocrisy. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Nicholas Huss, Somerset, New Jersey. All right, here we go. Ready? A group of pro-zooers spoke last year at the commissioners' meeting on 10/21. The head organizer, Yufat, made some uneducated and misinformed claims regarding something she knows nothing about. She proceeds to tell Commissioner Rios that he doesn't care about the safety of the animals because moving them from Johnson Park would cause them much anxiety and stress. Now let's think about this for a minute. What's going to cause more stress? The animals swimming in a lake, trapped behind fencing, with nowhere to go, while risking the chance of contracting a viral infection like a cold or pneumonia, or even worse, let's say multiple animals drowning, versus an animal being moved to another location completely out of harm's way, with zero chance in dealing with the residency or themselves being underwater. Sounds like a no-brainer to me, right? So if the animals have to deal with being slightly uncomfortable during transport while they're on their way to a new location, I would say that's a gamble worth taking, because at the end of the day, they're going to have their life. With Johnson Park, not so much. Yufat wanted to know why these sanctuaries that no one knows about is better than what we already have. Meaning, what can go wrong with Johnson Park? This is an easy one to wrap your head around, and has everything to do with the commission, and has everything to do with Commissioner Rios stating, and I quote, "It's a bad situation. It's a floodplain that FEMA has already declared. We just don't want to see anything happen to those animals in the future," end quote. Salute to the commissioner on this one, as the animal haven does fall within FEMA's high-risk flood zone AE. If you look at the FEMA flood zone map, it shows the entirety of Johnson Park, bounded at the east by Cedar Lane, at the north by River Road, and the south by Raritan River. There's a study out by Rutgers which models flood inundation for the Raritan River using Hydraulic Engineering Center's river analysis system software, which was created by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who are able to model 10, 25, 50, 100, and 500 years of flood anticipation. Due to the ecosystem response of climate change, the areas that are expected to experience the most flooding are Johnson Park and Route 18 near Boyd Park. If Yufat knew what I am telling you all right now, she wouldn't be saying, and I quote, "I go there all the time. My kids see the animals. I don't believe the animals are unsafe. And none of them died in the flood," end quote. None of the animals died in the flood, right? Well, tell that to Ricky to go. R.I.P. Little Man, September 2nd, 2021. At the time of Hurricane Ida, 19 fallow deer, 5 in which were babies documented. On September's USDA inspection report, only 8 fallow deer remained, meaning 11 were missing. Oh, let's not forget the one pig who magically disappeared, the pig whose face remains on the side of a milk carton. While we're at it, let's look at and bring up another unsolved mystery, like the 15 rabbits who vanished without a trace between September 9th and October 21st. How about the deer who escaped his jail cell and was found nearly 1 town away during the Great Escape to Hurricane jailbreak? To say that the animals are safe here is an understatement at this point in time. Famous last words from our hero Yufat, who told the commissioner, and I quote, "You don't care about the animal's safety because you're not articulating to me what info is given to you that states definitively that they're not safe," end quote. Well, Yufat, if you were listening from the start, you would have heard Commissioner Rios tell you that FEMA deems it a flood zone, along with her conspiracy theory claims saying that the Friends of Johnson Park Facebook group has been in existence for a year is another lie. We only formed the Facebook group on September 3rd after witnessing the horrific flooding during Hurricane Ida. If Yufat is supposed to be the leader of a pro-zooer group and cannot accurately portray her own scenarios correctly, just imagine how much mumbo-jumbo the rest of the individuals in this group will hold. Clearly, accuracy and transparency is not their best characteristic. Stop.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Eric Clifton. I'm a proud Middlesex County Highland Park resident for 16 years now. How'd that happen? I raised my kids in town. They are both very big animal lovers. We went to the zoo all the time. There are things even beyond the animals in the zoo you can enjoy, such as scarab beetles, turtles. It's an amazing place to bring kids who are interested in animals. Until they're old enough to ask the question, why are all the animals so sad? Look, I said last week, my take on the situation is that you guys are just staying the course until you get whatever the engineers and the zoo advisors offer. You're listening to us respectfully, and I respectfully thank you for that. But you've already made your mind up twice. You're not going to make your mind up a third time until you get this information. That's a bitter pill for those of us who look at the animals who have left. I said thank you last week, and I still mean it. The animals who left are doing great. The pig that was so fat you couldn't see can now see. The ram looks like there's really cute videos of him just chewing on hay. It's lovely. I'm so happy. I don't know why I care so much about this, except for the fact that it seems like a total, clear, easy thing to do. It's a flood zone. You know this. You know the Raritan River is only getting higher. You know the writing on the wall. You guys are not science deniers. You know what's coming. The amount of money that's going to be that they're going to suggest you spend to make the zoo and that area safe is going to be a lot of tax dollar money. It's going to be a lot of money. And looking at the budget, listening to the budget, imagine what the Parks Department could do with that money, making something that is out of the gate flood safe. Whether it's making the climbing structures more sturdy to handle, whether it's a new space, new field maintenance. That money could go to some really good things instead of hearing from an engineering firm and a zoo advisory firm that frankly, the engineering firm is going to give you solutions that give them business. The zoo advisors are going to advise you on a zoo, not on not having a zoo, not on other priorities. So other people have been out saying, if you really cared for the animals, you would act. I don't doubt you care for the animals. I don't doubt Rick cares for the animals. I don't doubt anyone here doesn't care for the animals. There's different priorities going on. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's if you're making a decision like this, because it's been around for a long time. I get that. But I hope during this process, when you're hearing, when money is being asked to raise the land or build new structures for these animals, I hope you consider maybe, since you've seen the sanctuaries that are lined up, you've seen what they can do, maybe this one zoo out of 3 shouldn't be there. Maybe that money could go to better things for the county, for the people who live in that area, like me and my kids. I would love, especially since Donaldson Park is all messed up from the flood and still has no areas to climb. Maybe if Johnson Park became a family-friendlier area, make the barbecue pits nicer. There's loads of things other than these animals. The time has passed for a chain-link fence zoo with your names on it. With all of your names on that zoo. All the outcomes. I know there's jobs involved, but jobs can be moved. These animals can be moved. You can do a good thing. I know you're not going to do it today. You're not going to stand up and say, it's closing. We agree with you. I know that's not coming today. We will be back here for every meeting until that day comes. We are annoying. I'm sure you would like us to stop being so annoying. If only that was enough. But please consider not just the cost of the animals, not just all of that, but what you're using my tax dollars for. And
time's up.
What you could do with it. Thank you.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Ashley Hartwick, born and raised in Highland Park.
And if you're wondering why there are so many people from Philly in the room tonight, it's because our videos of your zoo keep going nationally viral because they're so bad. So I'd like to show you some of the conditions of the animals that have already been rescued from the Johnson Park Animal Haven. The first is Milton the goat. He was in the zoo with painful arthritis, walking on his knees. He was the first one to go viral, unable to straighten out his legs or walk properly. Fortunately for Milton, he was rescued by the nonprofit sanctuary Goats of Anarchy, where he received proper medical treatment, including custom-fitted leg braces. Now he walks, he runs, he chases cats, he's a happy goat. Then there's Samuel the pig, who went viral on the internet in December, as the public was horrified to see how he walked on his wrists, due to not only his arthritis, but his morbid obesity caused by the public being allowed to feed the animals whatever they want, including junk food and garbage. He was prescribed painkillers by Dr. Link, who we've already heard about, who also suggested that he be euthanized if the painkillers didn't work. Well, he was rescued by Uncle Neil's home. Now he can walk, he can run, he's on a healthy diet that allows him to live a normal life, no longer a candidate for euthanasia. And his friend Ernie, who the zoo allowed to become so morbidly obese that he was fat blind, which means his fat was covering his eyes. He was stepping on his belly, walking on the ground. Now, he was rescued by Uncle Neil's home, and he has lost so much weight already that he no longer steps on his belly and he can open his eyes now. Good for him. This sad animal was known as the depressed ram because many park-goers asked if he was alive or dead, because this is all he would do 24/7. He was housed with goats who would not let him into the enclosure, so he laid like this on the fence. And he was rescued by Uncle Neil's home, where he received medical care and was welcomed into a flock of other sheep. So first I want to say thank you to those of you who allow these happy endings to happen instead of insisting these animals keep suffering in the park. After the incredible generosity of Uncle Neil's home and their hard work that we can see the results of, we were heartbroken when founder Ryan Feldman received this email from Director Lear. Actually, we were genuinely shocked. We didn't think anything else could shock us about this whole horror show, but this email actually really did shock us. So, according to this email, in strongly worded terms, the letter states that the sanctuary has failed to properly provide written weekly updates on the conditions of the animals, despite the sanctuary asking, according to Ms. Feldman, how to proceed with updates in the best way and not receiving an answer for days until she was on her round trip here to present to all of you and give you updates on the animals in person. And the sanctuary got this email shortly after that. And it states, "It is our expectation you will honor the commitment that you made in the agreement. However, it seems that you are either unable or unwilling to hold up your end. We expect weekly written updates on these animals without having to chase you down for the information. If you are unable to honor your commitment, the county considers this a breach of our agreement and will seek to take action." The county. So the first thing we'd like to know is, do all of the members of the Board of County Commissioners stand behind this email to the animal sanctuary? And is there a view that this is how the people of Middlesex County want to be represented? Does anyone here remember Mama 5, the goat who spent 2 to 3 days in an agonizing botched labor? Was anyone from the county or from the Parks Department sending strongly worded emails for updates on her condition? And this is her baby, her newborn who died with her. A vet never came to help her, and the only person who was begging for help was told that the animal keeper would only come and check on Mama 5 if she left, because he did not want to have to deal with her. Same with the baby fallow deer. Was there ever an email like this asking for updates on them, or the dozens of others missing after the flood? It took us 4 months for someone to admit that the baby deer were dead, and still no explanation about the dozens of missing deer, rabbits, and the others. And we've received hundreds of emails now through our open public records requests, and we've never seen an email besides this one. So out of all these sick, suffering, dying, and missing animals, the only time an email like this is sent out is when it's some kind of attempt to browbeat a nonprofit animal sanctuary, not for any of the animals that are under your responsibility. And I'd like to talk about that. At this point, we've had admissions of 10 deaths within 1 month, some of the animals that we've just looked at. Even if you don't admit they died during the flood, there is an acknowledgement that they did die, 10 in 1 month. And I haven't seen once that anyone from the county investigated this or even knew about it at the time. And I haven't seen any responsibility taking, nobody asking, gosh,
Time's
10
up.
animals.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi again. Can you hear me okay? Great. My name is Janet Ratliff. I reside in Somerset, New Jersey, born and raised in Piscataway. My in-laws still live there, and my dad lives there, directly across the street from the park. So here we go again. We all come here week after week and present endless amounts of evidence, horrifying pictures and descriptions of animals suffering and dying. Stories of great incompetence. We constantly ask questions just trying to get the truth. That's all we're asking for, the truth. Why is it so much to ask? We, the people who entrust you all to do right by this county, are just asking for the truth. I don't understand why you all don't feel like we are owed that. Honesty is such a basic human quality. If you have nothing to hide, be honest and forthcoming. If you have something to hide, correct it, do the right thing. We have asked so many questions since Hurricane Ida, legitimate, fair questions. Where are the rabbits? Where is Ricky the goat? Where are the fallow deer? Where is the fourth pig? Why don't these animals have proper safe enclosures, protection from the elements, proper diets, proper exercise, stimulation, companionship, proper medical care, non-frozen water, leak-free roofs? Why are animals dying with staff members right there, denying them any medical care? Why can't we get a meeting with Rick? Last meeting, we showed you all a heart-wrenching video of the day-to-day conditions and suffering of animals at Johnson's Park. Do you really need zoo experts to tell you these are problems? These are simple questions, but week after week, we get the same robotic answer. We will take your comments into consideration. Consideration for what? You don't even acknowledge that we're asking you questions. You refer to them as comments. We get that you are probably not animal lovers, and we're not asking you to be. We're just asking you to be against animal cruelty and suffering. Animals that you have the ability to make a change for. In the fall, you decide you're going to bring on some zoo experts to evaluate Johnson's Park, and it will take place by March 2022. So another harsh, miserable winter these animals have to endure. It's one thing to turn a blind eye, but with all the evidence and knowledge we have presented you, how are you still okay with this? Just because they are not domesticated animals like our dogs and cats, they are still living beings. They still feel pain and sadness. And what makes it worse is they have better options. We've done most of the work for you. So why? Why is this the route you are choosing after you already publicly acknowledged closing the zoo is the right thing to do? Who is benefiting from these animals suffering? What is the payoff, and to who? Why can't Rick give me a truthful answer as to what happened to all of the rabbits? He told me during a September phone meeting he would get me that answer. I and others here have asked many times since then, and we still don't have an answer. How many times have we asked what happened to the fallow deer? Your silence speaks volumes and basically answers the questions for us, but you just can't bring yourself to speak the truth. Why? So again, I ask, what happened to the rabbits? What happened to Ricky, the beloved goat? What happened to the 5 baby fallow deer that did not die from EHD? What happened to the 4th pig? And also, can you please give us an update on the pregnant goats? Can I get some answers? Basic, easy questions that we've been asking for 6 months? I know the comments, but what about our questions? We're asking questions, legitimate, fair questions. When Charlie asks questions, you answer. Danielle asks questions, you answer. We're asking questions. 5 baby deer, their bodies have to be somewhere. Can somebody tell us where their bodies wound up? Can we get any answers? You're elected officials representing us. We have over 10,000 people, signatures of people that care. We care. That's why we're here every other week, every meeting. It's not too much to ask. Why can't we get answers?
Thank you for your comments.
Can you answer
I
us?
will make a statement later, okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lisa Tarzia. I live in Somerset, New Jersey. But for 30 years, I was a resident born and raised in Woodbridge Township, Middlesex County. I'm an administrator for New Jersey Animal Save. And although I live in Somerset, our organization responds to complaints of neglect and abuse for wildlife, companion animals, marine life in the state, and we represent all counties. After Hurricane Ida, we received a lot of outreach from members of residents of Middlesex County and people familiar with the zoo. That's why I am here today, still representing these animals and our concerns, and then the people and our members, nearly 2,000 members and volunteers who dedicate their lives helping animals. Part of that is looking into facilities and shelters. We do background checks. We check on animals there as well. I'm familiar with Johnson Park because I visited there as a child, a teenager, and brought my kids there. Saturday I was there on February 12th, right before the Super Bowl. There are signs in the park, a couple signs, not to feed the animals. I took these pictures Saturday, not to feed the animals. 90% of the visitors that I witnessed within a 45-minute period were feeding the animals garbage. This man with his children, I blacked out his face for out of respect, had a huge bag of junk food, and they were feeding the animals as they made their way through the zoo. Here's a picture of a box that he threw in the garbage. This had been full, and they fed all this. It's sugary. It's junk food, and he had much more in his bag. This was just one box. Here's another picture of a woman who was feeding. She did have junk food. Here I was glad at least she had some lettuce, but she had a huge bag of garbage. During that time period, I didn't see any staff members on the premises, so even though those signs are up, there's no staff to look after these animals while the public is approaching them. And this happens to be one of the only facilities that I know of, out of all the sanctuaries and shelters that we check on and we know about, that doesn't have a barricades of any kind, or structures, walls, gates, to keep the public out of the zoo after hours. Usually parks are open dawn to dusk. There's no staff to keep that were on hand. So anyone can approach these animals, and anyone with bad intentions can hurt them. It's right, one side is right off the road, a few feet beyond the sidewalk. There's no way to protect these animals after hours. The public has 24/7 access to these animals. Usually there are barricades, the animals are protected after hours. There's no protection for them. And there's no staff member. I don't know of any other sanctuary or zoo in the state
where the animals, there's not a staff member present to at least supervise guests on the premises to protect the welfare of the animals. Not only that, to protect the welfare of the public and children visiting. People are constantly coaxing these animals to the fence with junk food to get their attention, and the animals are so habituated to that process that they approach the fence looking for junk food when a visitor comes nearby. That's how often they're fed garbage. Time's up.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Is there a motion to close?
I'd like
Let's go, step up. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Susan Carney. I am from Ocean County. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Imagine if you came, I'm a nurse, by the way, 24 years I stopped counting. Actually, could be getting overtime tonight, but I'm here. I'd rather be here. Imagine if you came into my hospital, this is hypothetical, with your mother, your father, your children, your grandchildren. God forbid something happened to them. You needed answers. We need answers now. And I said to you, I will take all your comments into consideration. Imagine the frustration that you will all have by me telling you that. Imagine, I will take it into consideration. Anyway, good evening. I'm an administrator and founder of New Jersey Animals Save. Our organization and members have been guardians of companion animals, livestock, marine life, and wildlife for nearly 10 years. Our members and volunteers work diligently advocating for the welfare of all animals in need of help or protection. We work in conjunction with many New Jersey animal welfare organizations, often forming coalition in order to help animals in need. NJASM has joined the current coalition of concerned residents, animal advocates, and voters who share the common goal of relocating the animals at Johnson Park Zoo to the many reputable sanctuaries who have volunteered to accept them and to close the zoo permanently. The animals have not received adequate care, medical attention, or shelter. The zoo is in a FEMA-designated flood zone. This zoo has frequently flooded and animals drowned due to the lack of evacuation protocols for predicted major storms. Despite previous drownings, Middlesex County officials still neglected to create evacuation protocols, resulting in the many deaths of animals during Hurricane Ida in 2021. Residents and animal welfare advocates received lies about the welfare of the animals during the flood caused by Hurricane Ida. Those entrusted with the care of these animals have proven to be untrustworthy. This FEMA-designated flood zone will continue to experience devastating floods, resulting in the unnecessary deaths of more animals. The creation of proper shelters on the premises will be costly to taxpayers. It would be more practical to relocate the animals to sanctuaries who will love and care for them and close this poorly maintained zoo located in a flood zone. These animals deserve to live their best lives in a truly safe haven, and residents and their children should not continue to be traumatized by seeing animals suffering in the cold, heat waves and floods. Thank you.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Peter Ortiz, and I'm from Newark, New Jersey. And I'd like to focus my discussion on something that the supporters of Johnson Park Zoo have brought up, and that's tradition. Just going to read a couple of the comments made from past meetings. This one came from Jenny Crusoe, saying that the loss of the zoo is a loss to the community. We're taking away tradition from our families. Here's another comment. This means a lot to me, a lot to my family. We have been going here for years. Just because it's tradition doesn't make it right. When we know better, we should do better. And we don't have to go back too far to find that this is true, because it's happened right here in New Jersey. In 2018, New Jersey became the first state in the country to ban circuses, carnivals, fairs from featuring elephants, tigers, and other exotic animals. Governor Phil Murphy signed a bill authorizing the statewide ban. The ban is named Nosey's Law, after a 36-year-old elephant in a traveling circus that animal rights groups say was abused by its owner and is now living in an animal refuge. The bill bars the use of elephants and other wild or exotic animals in traveling animal acts, including carnivals, circuses, parades, petting zoos, and similar events. This is a quote from the governor, quote, "I am proud to sign Nosey's Law and ensure that New Jersey will not allow wild and exotic animals to be exploited and cruelly treated within our state. These animals belong in their natural habitats or in their wildlife sanctuaries, not in performances where their safety and the safety of others is at risk." That's from Governor Murphy. So Commissioner Rios, you had it right when you said our main concern is our main concern is for the safety of the employees and the animals. You also had it right when you said that Johnson Park is a FEMA floodplain zone. And you also had it right when you said it's a bad situation there and we don't want to see anything happen to the animals in the future. New Jersey made history by passing Nosey's Law. Lawmakers had the courage to do the right thing on behalf of our fellow beings. Now is the time for you to do the right thing.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening once again. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick today. I want to thank you for taking a moment at the beginning of the meeting to honor Dave Harris. He was truly a great man, a New Brunswick hero who devoted himself to the lives of children and made a tremendous impact on my community here, and I'm grateful that he chose to devote his life to that and hope that we can continue his legacy. One of the advocates shared with me a document from Phoenix Equine that showed an exam and some medication for one of the animals. The client was the Johnson Park Zoo. The date was December 8th, and the vet was Rebecca A. Link. But in March of 2020, the U.S. Department of Justice announced 4 indictments were unsealed alleging a, quote, systematic international scheme among trainers, vets, and others to cheat using misbranded and unadulterated drugs. Rebecca Link was one of the people charged. The crime was misbranding conspiracy. So I have to ask, is it true that the county hired that firm and this vet to care for animals?
Rick, did we use that vet? Yes?
Yes, that is correct. This is, needless to say, troubling. How is it possible that the county would hire someone who was under federal indictment?
You have any comments that you may want to add?
No. We got his 5 minutes.
So, I guess nobody bothered to check, even a Google search, which would have revealed that there was a pending federal indictment against the veterinarian who was getting our taxpayer dollars.
All I would say to you is her license was not suspended. She was still able to practice. And what we understand is that what they were looking at was limited to having to do with horse racing. 10 years continues to use the license.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said,
She
Commissioner.
was suspended 10 years. I served on that commission.
but it was prior to me serving on the commission.
It was focused on horse racing.
Right, exactly, on standardbred horses.
Okay. Generally, folks who are under indictment are not good candidates to hire.
Aren't they accusations and not a
You're correct, that indictment is an accusation. She did accept a deferred prosecution agreement just a couple weeks after doing that exam for the county. Can anybody tell me, is this firm still hired by the county to care for the animals?
No.
No. Terminated the relationship. Well, that's good. I think that we need to reflect on how we could get ourselves into that kind of situation to begin with, and maybe it's not the wisest thing to continue this operation, given that it was managed in such a way where you had someone under federal indictment being, giving care to the animals. I think, any organization could do better than that. This was not easy or not hard to check. And this is, of course, after you already promised to close the zoo. So, one of our reporters is working on a story about this. She's asked, you put out a press release when you said you were going to close the zoo. Why didn't you put out a press release when you changed your mind? Why hasn't there been a corresponding public explanation given?
I'll make comments later, Charlie.
Okay. Well, I will use the balance of my time to talk about some of the other issues. We've had the police killed somebody yesterday in Middlesex County. Our democracy is under attack by both of the major political parties. Homelessness and violence are plaguing our communities here. And I want to repeat and flag something for you that you might not be aware of, but Agneta Pardo was duly elected to Milltown's Board of Education in November. She should have been sworn in January. It would have made her the first Latina to ever sit on that board, but there is a coup underway, and so far it's been successful, where the Board of Education in that town and the Bush Law Group is actively trying to prevent her from taking her seat, obstructing democracy and undermining the will of voters. What do you have to say about this, and will you join me in calling for her to be seated?
I'm not going to get into a conversation
Time's up.
like that. Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Corey Miller. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm in favor for Johnson Park to be closed due to the innocent sentient animals' lives that have already been lost as of 2022. With multiple reoccurring storms that have existed within the past 23 years, there should be no question that this flood zone is deemed as a safety violation when it comes to the employees and the animals. I ask of you to do the right thing, and let's put these tax dollars to better use by closing down the park and relocating the money that would have gone to this monstrosity, sad sight, and inhumane zoo to instead fund infant adolescent programs, help adults and children with special needs, feed the homeless, fix our roads, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Woodbridge Township,
Your name?
Amantina. I just wanted to pay homage to what you just said about being accused. There are laws going right now around the country, a big push, right, for second chance law, ban the box on convicted criminals versus indicted. So
I can't hear you, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I can't
No
hear
worries.
you.
Okay. The animals in Johnson Park are the heart and part of this community. The families of this county and this community come to the park weekly, even daily, to walk the paths, use the playgrounds, but the animals are withdrawn in the visits. The community has access to a small free zoo that they would not otherwise have. These same people signed a petition to keep it here because they love it. Can improvements be made, updated enclosures? Sure. The point is that hundreds of people that come to this park would be devastated to lose the animals. The park supports summer camps like the Boy Scouts and have provided glowing reviews of their experience with the animals and the workers. The park has had years and years of positive reviews. There are many of us that love the animals, and we came to the meeting in November when the decision to have the professional assessment was done and was announced. We respected that decision and did not feel the need to come to each and every meeting. It's not that we don't care, of course, about the animals, but we respect the process you determined that would be best. In the 20 years the park has flooded.
Ma'am, hold on one second. Director,
Yes.
everybody's gotten a chance to speak. Nobody's made comment from the audience. Sound effects, snide remarks. They ask that she have the same respect given to everybody else.
Ditto. Otherwise, you'll be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. In the last 20 years, this park has flooded 4 times where the animals need to be located to higher ground. The original motivation for this group was about flooding, and quoting them from last week, it definitely maybe will flood more frequently. Even if, for argument's sake, weather-related flooding doubled in frequency, like instead of 4 times in 20 years, it's 8 times in the next 20 years, that means 8 days the animals will need to be relocated to higher ground. That also means that 7,292 days, the animals are just fine. It's perfectly reasonable to ensure an emergency plan is in place and reevaluated yearly, just in case there's any climate changes, and you can adjust that plan. Quoting the Friends group, they have heavily documented instances of miscare or neglect. However, this is purely documented opinions of this group. Between the supervisors, workers, veterinarians, Fish and Wildlife, USDA, New Jersey Department of Ag, there's over 150 years of experience. These agency representatives are experts in their field. There are little to no reports from the vets, the USDA, Fish and Wildlife, etc., that support any of these accusations. Last week they stated that the New Jersey Department of Ag cannot know anything because they aren't there all of the time. But the door works both ways. The Friends group are not here all of the time either, and they only have snapshots in time, 10-second videos, and photos they crop to suit their agenda. For all of these negative videos and pictures, there are hundreds that counter them posted by random park goers all over the years, all over social media. This group with a common goal and shared opinions was formed less than 6 months ago. There's a movement these days called cancel culture, and this is a prime example. A group of people coming together with so much noise as possible to cancel whatever it is they don't like, and go to whatever means necessary to do so. This group does not represent the majority. Their efforts should not wipe out the past 10 years of positive reviews. I'm sure that this group believes in their purpose and their opinions, and there are so many instances of real animal abuse, but that is not the case here. Their efforts and concern are severely misplaced. The last few months have turned into a witch hunt with so many fabricated stories, baseless complaints, and needless calls to the rangers in late hours of the night. They are actually potentially cause more harm than good. Local animal control agencies, other sanctuaries, Fish and Wildlife often bring animals to Johnson Park Animal Haven. These animals would otherwise be destroyed. Eliminating the Johnson Park Animal Haven eliminates that option for a lot of farm animals and those confiscated by Fish and Wildlife. The Haven also provides very valuable community services to elementary school trips, various assisted living facilities for the elderly, disabled, and special needs groups. I have listened to all the meetings, and I do not envy your job right now. You have an entire agenda to work through, and this specific item has taken up a lot of your time. So thank you, Commissioners, for your time and consideration. And though we don't attend every single meeting, we are still here, and we do love these animals, especially the ones in Johnson Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Edward Oporto from Newark, New Jersey. I am here in front of you tonight to speak about Johnson Park Animal Haven, formerly known and now has been recently renamed as Johnson Park Ranger Station. With that, I also want to ask some clarification with a statement made from Commissioner Director Rios. So just to start off, I think we can all agree that Johnson Park Zoo has already been, it's proven that there's a lot of animal neglect and cruelty going on. It's an animal haven in name only. In fact, it's more so a haven for despair. I've been here at the meetings before. We've seen video footage especially of the psychosis that these animals go through. So I believe we can all agree that it is a terrible place, that anyone, regardless of being a human or an animal, they shouldn't be exposed to that. That's no way of living. I do want to know why, once again, why there was the change of heart when, after having it closed, it would be reopened again, and that is why some animal rights groups are here in every other meeting since then. So my question is, I'm going to read you a quote from Richard Ambrosio. Well, in fact, this was a question, and he asked you, Commissioner Rios. This was on October 21st, 2021. The quote is, or the question is removing the animals at Johnson Park the right plan or the easier one? Your response was, the right plan. We feel as a board very concerned about the safety of our employees and the animals. Can you please, Commissioner Rios, explain what happened? Why did the decision get overturned, and why has it been reopened?
We had comments from people that were concerned about leaving the haven open. And they were concerned, and some of my colleagues here felt that maybe we should get someone in to give us an assessment on what's the best answer to maybe we could accommodate both sides of the argument.
Okay, I do appreciate that. I know that we're pretty late here, but I will ask you one more thing. About the name change, what is your opinion in knowing that Johnson Park Animal Haven, that was the name for quite a while until, let's say in December and in January, it had, when you look on the page, it remained permanently closed and then temporarily closed. And it still had the name Johnson Park Animal Haven, but now, recently, it's reopened again when you look at it on a Google search, and the name says Johnson Park Animal Haven. Johnson Park Ranger Station. Is that not a very suspicious change in the name, given the timeline of events from Hurricane Ida until now?
I don't know where that came from, that change. I don't think that had anything to do with us administratively. Am I correct in saying that, Rick?
I mean, Director, it should be from our website. If what you type into Google, what Google puts out there, and what they create, that is not something that we control. So I'm not sure where the source of the information is.
Right.
Okay.
Nothing done by us administratively or
No, I know, but this is more so just to think, given all of the accusations and the evidence piling up, and why that name change is already coinciding right when they're fully open again.
we had nothing to do with that.
Time's up.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Anyone else in the public?
Move to close the public portion.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, it's Anna Krasaska from Perth Amboy. I just
Okay,
want to...
please speak a little closer and louder.
Anna Krasaska from Perth Amboy. I just want to ask, is this a haven or is this a place where you breed animals because people want to see them? Because Miss Amherst, over there, clearly thinks it's okay for animals to die just so people can see them.
I can't hear what she's saying.
I'm saying that Miss Ann thinks it's okay if animals die. You can breed goats, you can breed them because people want to see them. That's what she told me. I used to go here since 2002. I used to go to this park since 2002. This was my favorite park until recently, till I got really close to the animals and saw that they started dying. Why is that okay?
Why is it okay for what?
to breed animals and they die and no one needs to tell anyone who comes to the park for years.
I don't know how accurate that is. As far as breeding animals, we're not in the business to breed animals.
The goats were breeded because Miss Ann told me at one of our encounters at the park, because people like to see them. People like to see babies, right? It doesn't matter if they die.
We're not breeding the animals.
No, we're not in the business to breed
animals, so we have more
Not anymore.
We're certainly not trying to add more babies into the animal haven there from within.
Okay, so why were all the goats pregnant this summer? And why are they pregnant now? You have the birthing suite, right?
I think we touched on this before, Anna. During the storm, there was the ability for the animals to get together as we were trying to sort things out. So there are, or at least one goat, maybe two, that are pregnant. One of them, and I don't know if we're going to go into this later, because it's hard to stop. One of them has had the babies, Rick, if I'm correct. And we have taken steps to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Okay, so before the storm, why did 5 of the goats get pregnant in this past year, last year?
And that I obviously don't have to.
There was no storm, so wasn't that breeding if all 5 of the female goats got pregnant?
That I don't have an answer.
Okay, well, thank you.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Taylor Myers, Highland Park, Middlesex County. And I just wanted to follow up on Anna's question. Yeah, the goats were pregnant before the storm, so we are in the business of breeding goats. So that's just not true, because we do breed goats there. I mean, if there are goats being born out of goats that got pregnant there, we are breeding goats there. And also, we did, I noticed you castrated 2 of the 6-month-old baby boys, which is great.
Can you address your comments to the board here, right here?
They did castrate 2 of the juvenile males, which was great. The goats that were in the pen with the mothers, and they were trying to impregnate the mothers, and it was disgusting. I mean, honestly, this is incest that we're watching happen and being bred. They finally did castrate those goats. They could have done it a lot sooner, but they did because of all of this public pressure. They obviously had to.
We're certainly not making every effort to breed goats or any other.
That's what's going to happen if you keep them in with each other. This is why we need these sanctuaries could give these animals some place to go where they know what they're doing, right? This isn't the place for these animals because we don't know what we're doing, obviously, right? So all of this should be said, right? I know that you heard from a lot of people tonight. I also know that you heard from some people who are directly related to the zookeepers there, and not going to identify that fact when you're up here, that's low, right? I'm not just concerned for, my husband's job or something when I say what I'm saying here, right? So there's a lot of that happening. I think there's a lot of public pressure from people who work at the zoo and their families and friends. And the rest of the public pressure, 10,000 signatures on a petition from Middlesex County residents versus 600 signatures. I don't know. I like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, you don't have the votes on this. You know that. But all of that to be said, we also have been trying to get a meeting with you guys. I emailed John Palomina as was directed to. I was directed to that at the end of last meeting. I emailed him, nothing back. This morning I got an email back from him saying, we can meet in a week. Well, I can't meet in a week. These animals are dying right now. I just came here. I just drove straight here from work because I have to be here. And here's the thing. I drove through the park just now. 15 minutes ago. So I'm telling all of you, and some of you have been on our side, and I appreciate it, and I love you guys, but some of you have definitely not. Drive through the park on your way home tonight, right? Just go through and actually take the back road. And you will see with your own eyes, you don't even have to leave your car. You can drive. The fallow deer enclosure is flooded with water right this second. They are walking in water right now. You can see it with your own eyes if you go down there, okay? If that's what you want to do, if you want to make the observant decision and you want to make the good decisions, that's what I would do. I would get the first-hand evidence. So I would go down there and I would look for myself because you can see, it's dark out, but you can see reflection like it's water. It's a pond. That's just the way the park is designed to get water right in that spot. It's the lowest point before the river. That's where all the water is going to collect. No wonder 5 baby fallow deer disappeared during Ida. Come on. I just feel like we have the sanctuaries lined up for these animals. There's no reason. We need to be breeding them. We need to be keeping them in danger, keeping them in flooded enclosures that you can see for yourself. And you don't have the votes on this. And you know that. So I just want to reiterate the point I made 2 weeks ago. You all have elections coming up. Some of you have been very, very helpful to us, and we will remember that. Some of you have not been very helpful to us, and we will remember that very, very much. And we have the votes, we have an election coming up, and we have other courses of...
Time's up.
Let me assure you,
Yeah.
okay, none of these decisions here were predicated on an election, okay? We're not going to take threats lightly. I have the floor now, okay? Is there a motion to close the public portion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Understand that we're not going to take threats by anyone because of a political decision that you may think that we're making. We're making a practical decision, okay? Our work continues with French and Perillo and zoo advisors regarding the assessment and future of our animal haven in Middlesex County. We expect we let you speak, and we want to be heard as well, and we want respect for the other people.
Understood.
We expect final recommendations from the assessment by the end of the first quarter. In consultation with our professionals, we will implement an interim strategy consistent with our continued efforts to reduce any risk to our staff and the animals under our care at Johnson Park. The staff and zoo advisors have made recommendations for the transfer of potentially vulnerable animals that can be accommodated in either Thompson or Merrill Park. By relocating these animals now, we will be able to react more efficiently to provide care for the remaining animals in the event of any future flooding issues at Johnson Park. Larger animals like the deer and horses will remain at Johnson Park in the interim. Our emergency response plan allows us to expand our enclosure space to accommodate these animals on higher ground while floodwaters recede. It is our intent to begin the relocation process next week and complete it within 3 to 5 days. The Commissioner Board understands that finding more resilient locations for these animals is still paramount, and we are committed to that goal with the help of our staff and the professionals. Once final recommendations are received, we will be in a better position to take the next steps and incorporate these moves into our overall strategy. We are aware of access to the animals, as mentioned here earlier, as far as being close to the general public, and we are keeping that in mind to protect the animals from people feeding them junk. Finally, I would like to address some of the recent attacks and disparaging remarks aimed at our county employees. The staff in Johnson Park, the Office of Parks and Recreation, and throughout the county are dedicated to providing the best services and programs for our residents. Staff is present during emergencies and have committed themselves to caring for the animals during the extreme winter episodes. Our employees care, regardless of what you may think or comments that you may have made. They are present 7 days a week, 365 days a year to provide the necessary care, and I'm proud of the work that they continue to do. Again, no decisions were made here because of an election. I can assure you that. We have people that do want the animal haven to stay. And if we are to move forward collectively to resolve these issues, our focus must continue to be on addressing the issue and not resorting to personal attacks. We will not tolerate any remarks or harassment to any of our employees, whether it's here or at the Animal Haven. And if anyone is harassing our employees at the Animal Haven, they will be removed from the park. Such behavior is just unprofessional and disrespectful and will not be tolerated by this board. Another comment I would like to make on a different note. I would like to take a moment to update my colleagues and the public on efforts to improve the election process for voters here in Middlesex County. As you know, earlier this week I sent a letter on behalf of our Board of County Commissioners to the Board of Elections regarding an ongoing comprehensive review of our elections operations and the next steps in that process. At my discretion, the County Administration has begun a comprehensive overview of the 2021 general election, working in close coordination with staff at the Board of Elections and the Office of the County Clerk, as well as other stakeholders. It is imperative that this review is conducted holistically, given the increasing complexity of our elections and the challenges we have all witnessed as a result. Over the past 5 years, our elections have changed dramatically. Expansions by vote by mail, new voting machines, in-person early voting, electronic poll books, and more. My colleagues and I on the Board of County Commissioners are committed to supporting the integrity of our elections, committing increasing levels of funding and support to the Board of Elections and the entire elections process. As a result of this commitment, I have asked County Administrator John Palomina and his team to convene a working group to review the elections process. A similar effort was held after the 2021 primary election and resulted in improvements in technology and operations at both the Board of Elections and at the county. This comprehensive review is part of our standard operating procedure for all large-scale projects and operations at the county, of which elections would certainly be considered. My colleagues and I are confident that through a comprehensive effort, which includes all stakeholders working together, we can further improve the elections experience for every voter and resident of Middlesex County. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned.